Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to build an exponent function. Now, an exponent function is basically going to allow us to take a certain number and raise it to a specific power. So in Python, there's actually a really easy way to do this. I could come down here and I could print, we could say like 2, and we can just do 2 multiplication signs, and I could say 3. And this is basically just going to be 2 raised to the 3rd power. So you can see here, I can just print this out and we get 8 because that's 2 cubed. So it's really easy to do exponents in Python, but I want to show you guys how we can use something like a for loop in order to create a function like this of our own. So we'll actually create an exponent function that will basically do this, and we'll use for loops to do it. So let's create a function. So I'm just going to say def, and now we need to give this function a name. So why don't we call it raise to power? And inside of here, I'm going to accept 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be the base number, and then the second parameter is going to be the power number. So we're going to take the base number and raise it to the power number. So over here, we can just make a colon. Now, inside of this function, we need to start writing some code. Here's the thing. Inside the function, we don't necessarily know the value of this pownum, right? For example, if we knew that we were just trying to like square this number or cube this number, I could just return like base num times base num, right? That would square the number, or I could cube the number base num. So this would be like the number cubed. The problem is though, we don't know like right off the bat what this value is going to be, right? This could change, like the user can decide that. So in order to write this function, we're actually going to need to use a for loop. And I'm going to show you guys how we can use a for loop to basically figure this out. So the first thing I want to do is create a variable, and I'm just going to call it result. And we're just going to set result equal to 1. So we're going to start this off at 1. Now I want to create a for loop. So I'm basically just going to say for, and over here, I basically want to specify like a index. So I'm going to say index in, and now I want to specify a range. And a range will basically range us through a collection of numbers. So basically I want to multiply the base num by itself as many times as the pownum specifies, right? So over here, I can just make this a range of pownum, right? And so we'll basically loop through this for loop as many times as pownum. So if pownum is 2, we'll loop through it twice. If pownum is 4, we'll loop through it 4 times. And every time through the loop, we'll multiply base num by itself. Or actually, you'll see we're going to multiply it by this result. And so down here inside of this for loop, I can basically say result is equal to result times base num. This should actually give us everything we need to take this number to the specific power. So the actual like result, of doing the math is going to get stored inside of this result variable. So the first time through the loop, we're just multiplying base num by 1, right? And so now result is going to become the same value as base num. The second time through the loop, so this would be if we were squaring the number, we're basically multiplying result by base num again. So it's essentially just base num times base num. The third time through the loop, we're multiplying result times base num. So we're essentially just like cubing the number. So that's essentially what this for loop is doing for us. So the last thing I want to do is right here below this for loop, I'm just going to return the result. So we'll be able to return whatever the result of raising the number to the power was. All right, so let's come down after this function and we're just gonna call it. So I'm just gonna say, actually we'll print out the answer. So I'm gonna say raise to power. And inside of these parentheses, remember we can pass 2 numbers. So let's raise 3 to the 2nd power. So we're just gonna square 3 and we'll see how this works. So let's run the program. And you can see down here in the console, we're getting 9. Let's try something a little bit crazier. Let's try 3 to the 4th power. And we'll run this and we get 81. So that's 3 to the 4th power. Let's try 2 to the 3rd power and we're getting 8. Yeah, so that makes sense. So our raise to power function is working just as expected, and I'll just walk you guys through it one more time. So inside of this function, we're taking in 2 pieces of input. We're taking in a base number and we're taking in a pow number. So that's like the base number is going to be taken to the power number. I'm defining a variable here called result. And result is where we're going to store the actual result of doing the math. Now we specify this for loop. And I'm basically saying that I want to loop through this range of numbers. When I put pownum here, it's basically going to range from 0 all the way up to, but not including the power number. So we'll basically loop through power number of times, if that makes sense. And then every time through the loop, we're just multiplying result by base num. And then we're just returning result. So that's the basics of building a power function. And obviously, like if you're just trying to take a number to a power in Python, it's really easy. But this kind of shows you like the internal workings, right? For a function like that to work, we would have to actually type something out just like this. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.